today is the feast day of Christ the King. So on this feast day, and at this time of the year, the end of the year, it is a good idea to perhaps look at our priorities in life. Who and what comes first, and what is further down the line. This is Mission Alive. You're with Roger from the MSC Mission Office. One day many years ago, when I was in a parish in Port Moresby, it was Hanawabada parish, and many of the people lived down in a village over the water, and some ladies were in the house cleaning my house, which is a very good thing. Then in the middle of the message came from down in the village, and they took off out of my house, ran down the street yelling and screaming at somebody about something, and cleaning Father Roger's house was definitely not a priority. Their priority was their family. And this happens a lot in our lives. In Papua New Guinea, there's a big, one of the priorities is obligation. If someone helps me, then I must help them. If somebody asks for my help, I am obliged to help them. This is a big cultural priority. So that in this case, the priority was family, and cleaning Father's house was not. So I had to go and attend to that. Another thing in Papua New Guinea, which might be in other cultures also, well, in all cultures, but particularly burying the dead, and particularly if they have to transport the body back to the village to be buried in their own land. This is important. This is a priority, and they'll go at great expense and great difficulty to transport the body. They would, in some places, they'd have to pay for transport either by road or boat or plane, and then they'd have to get to the village, and then often they would have to carry the coffin with the body over the hills and rivers to their own land to bury them. That's a priority. So there's many things like that. And often, even here in Australia, often after the floods and bushfires and disasters and that, often people are interviewed and say, everything's gone, but we're all safe. The family is all safe, we're all here. And that's the important thing. See, that's the priority. So when we come to Christ the King and our lives, we can ask ourselves, is Jesus Christ a priority in my life? And examine ourselves on that. Because to put Jesus as a priority is a commitment in faith, in hope. And if we say, yes, I have a priority in my life for Jesus, then we have a priority to follow what he taught, to follow his command of love. And therefore the priority is, what does that mean in my day-to-day life? We have to carry that out. We have to follow through. If I say I love Jesus and I don't help the guy next door or down the street, then there's something wrong. As Paul said, you know, if you say you have love and you don't show it by your actions, then sorry, but you're a liar. So that's our priorities. A couple of other little examples. At times people would say to me, Father, I couldn't go to church because my mother was sick and I had to look after her. I'd say, why, particularly if they came to the Sacrament of Reconciliation, I said, don't tell me that. That's not a sin. Your mother is more important than going to church. That's a priority. And somebody else said, a couple of times I've had this one, I couldn't go to church because the river was flooded. And that's a reality in some places. I mean, that's when people are walking. They might have walked an hour to the river, it's in flood. So I said, the river's flooded, don't bother coming to church. Your priority is to protect your life. Don't jump into the water, into the flood and drown yourself. So we set these priorities in life all the time. So, Christ the King. We don't really follow kings very much these days, but I don't know whether the Jews did either, because their king was Caesar, or I've forgotten his other name, Herod, who was a pretty bad sort of a king anyway. So I don't think kings carried much weight for Jesus and the Jews, but that came later in Europe when kings were something. We don't bother with anyway. That's not the point. The point is, who is our leader? Who is our model? Who is the one that we put up as the one to follow, and to follow the teaching and the law of that person? So at this time of the year, and as we move into Advent, we look at our life and say, what are the priorities in my life? Thank you for being on mission with us.